Suzi and Kat here at Social Media for Small Business. We're at South by Southwest in Austin.
We are, and it's day 4 already, but by the same token, not feeling anywhere near as previous years. What have you found so far, Suzi? What's taken your fancy the last couple of days?
The last couple of days, well, let me just do today, because each day is so big when you're at South by. So this morning I saw on the day stage, so the day stage is where authors preview their new books.
Yep.
They generally speak for about 20 minutes and do Q&A. The author of, most people will know him as the author of UnMarketing, Scott Stratten. He's got a new book, The Book of Business Awesome. Funny Canadian guy. Ripped shreds off himself, was just hilarious, but made a couple of comments that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
One is he talked about technology, and he said what annoys him is when technology is used just because it's there.
Yeah.
And he gave QR codes the biggest serve, because he said most people don't use them properly.
No.
Most people use them stupidly, like they're on billboards, on the side of a road, or they take you to a site that's not working. And he said that technology should only be used when it can add value to your customers and give them a way to give you money or better engage with you. So he was great with that.
Who else have you seen? Sorry.
One more thing he said. He gave an example of people coming to him and saying, people are talking badly of us on social media. What should we do? They're talking badly about our products and services. And he said, make a better product or service. He said, they said, but how do we stop them saying bad things? And he said, I just told you, make a better product or service. So that was kind of his humour. He was very, very good.
What I love about, and that is so Stratten humour that we're used to in his book and his blog. What I love about that is the answer. When people all get all hot and bothered around social media, what happens if people say nasty things about us? Sort it out. Fix it. Take it as, I don't know, feedback. I wish I was in that session. That would have been very funny.
He was very, very good. So the other one, and I just have to refer to my notes because it's been a very full day. I did a session on knowledge, and the question was, so now when our knowledge is not filtered by universities, by newspapers, by book publishers, and anybody can put out content, how do we manage access to the right information? How do we attribute it appropriately? How do we know who's really a credible authority?
Cool.
And it was just a lot of questions. There were some answers, but I think the main thing for me was that the game has changed so much, and someone who's very committed to education and giving people good education, for me, that being credible, not everyone is an authority. Just because you do an authority course on how to be a thought leader, that does not make you a credible source. So that's what I took away.
Was there a key theme in how we start to address those questions? Like, I get that there wasn't a lot of answers, but how do we determine whether the information we're reading online is correct?
Well, one of the ideas was, and scientists with one of the bodies of people, if you like, that we looked at, is for, rather than knowledge to be secretive, is to make it public and let people debate it and argue it and add to it for the purpose of making better content.
So not dissimilar then actually to Stratton's idea of, well, if people are saying that this is crap, then do something better. So if people are saying that your information's crap or maybe not so crash hot, then you need to put out different information or better information.
Yeah, it was a really good session.
So transparency and authenticity.
There's two of the words they used. Yeah. What about you?
Look, I've seen some really interesting speakers, of course, in the last couple of days. One was a keynote, and I actually wasn't sure whether I was going to sit in on this keynote because the abstract kind of looked very irrelevant to me. I'm stoked that I stayed. The lady's name was Julie Uhrman. She's developed a platform called OUYA, which is an open source development or developer platform for gaming, for big screen gaming. It doesn't exist yet. The first models of this gaming console, and it sits about this big, go out to their Kickstarter supporters at the end of this month. Now there's the kicker, if you pardon the pun. This particular concept was an idea, and it was only an idea until she put it on Kickstarter, and as she said with trembling hands, she clicked the send button and released it. She wanted to raise about $900,000, as I understand it, ended up raising $8.6 million in Kickstarter funding from 110 different countries. So in that one Kickstarter campaign, what she discovered was not only could she get the money that she needed to develop it, but there was a need. There was a market need for that particular product. So people often talk to me about crowdfunding and say, I don't get why I would do it. And I go, because you get to find out whether your idea is viable, whether there's a market. So that was really exciting to watch her talk about that. The other thing I quite liked about her, and this is a theme that I'm being reminded of constantly about, the American approach to life and some of these thought leaders' approach to life is be bold. Have your idea, put it out there, own it, and just make it happen. Again, her interview was spot on. She didn't back away from any of the tough questions. She was very clear about who she is, what they're doing, what the product does. And yeah, I just loved her boldness.
And there's so many aspects of the sorts of things that you learn about here. The gaming, the crowdfunding, the collaboration, the being bold. I sat that one out, but I think I'm going to check out the tweets.
Well, and actually collaboration is another good one in that, because one of the other things that happened in the Kickstarter campaign was she got a lot of market research around what people wanted in a new console. So, for example, one of the case studies she gave was somebody looked at the Kickstarter campaign and said, by the way, do you know that X percentage of men are actually colourblind? If you go ahead with that proposed design, you're going to have trouble. And she went, oh, well, what colour should the buttons be? So, before it's even gone into beta production, they're getting feedback on what's going to work. It was just such a cool use of a crowdfunding and crowdsourcing application.
Very exciting. Now, this is the third year that both you and I have sat in to listen to Dennis Crowley of Foursquare. Tell me, what did you get from his presentation today?
Again, the boldness thing was a theme. He so knows the game that he's on. Where Foursquare is going and where location is going, he described Foursquare as being like the Google bots that trawl the net, whereas Foursquare is actually people providing data points about real-time interactions with real-time venues in real-time locations. And what I love about that is that you get to see not only where your friends are, where your friends like, but for example at a festival like South by, you get to see, well, that bar is trending but that one's not. Why? And depending on your mode for that night, do you go to the one that's trending or do you go to the quieter areas? He was talking about how in the future what he's hoping for social search and location-based search is you actually won't have to look, it will just tell you. Your phone will buzz and say, hey, there's something really interesting going on within your vicinity, you should go and check it out. And whether that's happening in your device or whether it's happening in Google Glass or whether it's happening in a device that doesn't exist yet. Just that notion of being actively or proactively given information based on what the application knows about you, what your friends are doing, that real-time information about the location that you're at. It's just, from a marketing perspective, it's too exciting, but also from a geek perspective, I just sit there and go, the data that's being collected is amazing. Now, how are we using that data?
When I saw the amount of data they're collecting that people are willingly giving every time they check in or they make a recommendation or like something or add it on a list, but it's not threatening. It's just empowering for me to know that they're going to serve up for me. Here's a place I really think you like, not because of anything other than you told me what you like and now I'm feeding back to you what that is. And his passion for entrepreneurship, he's a few years now more into the business, but talking as a real business owner, what keeps me up at night is trying to figure out business, knowing I've got 160 staff and I have to keep this machine moving. Just very, very real, and his passion, I think, shone through again for making a really, really good product.
And that notion of what keeps them up at night, how do they get all the staff doing what they need to do, it was really cool to hear that there's still a strong tech company that's actually still doing it really lean. They've got 160 staff compared to Facebook's, I think he said 19,000, and Google's 50,000. I might have those figures wrong, we'll put them in the show notes. But 160 staff doing everything that Foursquare does. I just loved it. There was also an awesome data visualization that we might put the link to as well in the show notes, because again, really cool to see how that data can be used to track all sorts of different things that can be used to inform many, many, many different stakeholder groups.
Now, one of the good things that we heard today was that there is international growth and they're seeing good growth in other markets. I'm hoping for Australia that we see a whole lot more growth there, and I'm willing to do my part to ensure that businesses can take advantage of the powerful tool that Foursquare is. He also said something really interesting about being at South by, which, can you remember the quote?
So I think the quote went along the lines of, South by is where you get to go to live in the future for a couple of days before you go back to your real lives and live in the present. And I mean, we said the other day that what we love about it is the ideas that get sparked. That's so it. We get to live in the future. What's really cool now is that the future that we're living in when we come to South by, it's actually only there, whereas in the past it kind of felt like it was much further forward.
Yeah, so are we having fun?
Oh yes, we are having so much fun.
Thanks so much for joining us.